What would you do if you were trapped in a deadly dungeon with a stunning heiress, armed with nothing but thousands of useless level 1 skills? Noboru Takegami discovered the craziest way to break the game, crushing quality with sheer quantity. He realized his unique skill lets him burn through his trash skills to unleash godlike physical power for just 1 minute. Everyone thought he was a loser, but he turned out to be a monster in sheep's clothing. Not only did he save the beauty, but he also knocked out his bully with a single punch. This young man's journey to the absolute peak begins with this legendary exploit. From a dark hole, another world extends. The scene opens to a massive gate under a full moon, with fires burning ominously, setting a dark and dangerous tone. This world contains dungeons, and nesting within them are powerful and terrifying monsters, whose menacing forms lurk in the shadows. The story flashes back 10 years to when mankind first began its desperate resistance. A young man sets foot in this perilous place for the very first time. A massive beast awakens, its glowing red eye filled with killing intent. But facing this threat, a young explorer smirks confidently, declaring, "But that ends today." Against such overwhelming threats, humanity continues to fight. This is Noboru Takegami, a man who stands ready, enveloped in a powerful blue aura. With a fierce grin, he activates a powerful skill, consuming 100 other abilities to unleash the explosive mountain cleave. He leaps into battle against a monstrous beast. This is the story of a young boy's journey. As he draws his sword, he confidently challenges the beast. "Now let's see who's on top." With a wild cry, he charges forward, yelling that it's a showdown. A massive pillar of light erupts from his attack, a spectacular display of power. This is a story about aiming for the absolute peak in such a world. Opposite him, the monster roared, gaping its maw to unleash a massive beam of fire-like energy, attempting to overwhelm his surging aura. The scene transitions to a bright day, showing the logo of the Japan Otherworld Exploration Association, or JOEA. In the middle of a bustling city, a news broadcast announces the complete conquest of the JB dungeon. The historic feat was accomplished by the brave class explorer, Noboru Takegami, who is seen triumphantly flashing a peace sign. Watching the news from home, we learn this is Subaru's 37th dungeon conquest, an unprecedented feat in human history. A young boy, Noboru, excitedly points at the screen. "Dad is on TV again? Wow." His father, Subaru, smiles proudly and says, "Isn't he? Your dad is incredible." Subaru winks, boasting. After all, he's at the Teppen, the pinnacle of all explorers. His son, Noboru, looks up at him with curious eyes, asking, "Teppen?" Subaru lovingly explains that it means the very top. The realization dawns on the boy, and he throws his hands up in the air with pure excitement, shouting, "Top! Number 1. Filled with admiration, little Noboru looks at his father and declares, "Amazing! Dad, me too." With a determined look and clenched fists, Noboru announces his own dream. "I want to be at the Teppen too." Subaru is overjoyed and pulls his son into a playful embrace. He encourages Noboru, telling him that as the son of him and Rei, he can definitely achieve it. "All right, Noboru, if you're a man, aim for the Teppen," he says, planting the seed of a great dream. Filled with fatherly pride, Subaru lifts Noboru into the air, making a heartfelt promise. "Become a brave, and after that, you'll go on a grand adventure with me." Subaru smiles warmly, filled with pride at his son's dream. The promise of a grand adventure together hangs in the air, a cherished memory for young Noboru. It was a simple childhood promise. Longing to be like his incredible father, the explorer who stood at the Teppen, Noboru too dreamed of becoming a great brave. He reminisces about his past. Back then, he always had many friends around him, enjoying a happy and popular childhood. Wielding a simple stick like a sword, young Noboru was a natural leader who pulled everyone along on their childhood adventures. And that confidence reached its peak at age 12, on the day of the much-anticipated skill awakening. The narration explains the world system. Skills are mysterious powers that appeared alongside monsters and dungeons. On a person's 12th birthday, they awaken. These skills are incredibly diverse, ranging from powerful combat abilities like swordsmanship or fire magic to convenient daily life skills like cooking or calculation. Furthermore, all skills have levels. At first, everyone starts at level 1, represented by a status screen. As you train, the skill level rises. While the upper limit is still unknown, the highest recorded skill level in the world is 7. On the night of his 12th birthday, a mystical blue light emanates from Noboru's window as he sleeps. Such an incredible, convenient, and life-altering power. As Noboru slept, his destined skill finally awakened. He awakened Skill Collection, a unique skill that greatly relaxed the conditions for acquiring skills, allowing him to learn any skill without limit. It seemed like an amazing ability. But there was a huge, cruel trap hidden within the skill. The scene shifts, and 3 years later, a figure emerges from a dungeon cave, sighing in exhaustion. It is Noboru Takegami, now 15 years old. He looks down at a meager-looking magic stone in his hand and sighs. Is this all I have still? The world's mechanics are further explained. When you defeat a monster, its corpse disappears, and a magic stone is left in its place. Noboru sits dejectedly. These stones can be sold to the government as energy resources, but his earnings are so small that he has to be careful not to even drop one. He laments that he can barely defeat the weakest of monsters. Suddenly, a voice calls out, "Hey, if it isn't Jabber!" Noboru flinches, startled. Noboru turns around with a look of dread, recognizing the voice of his tormentor. Kyuzuno, he thinks. A young man with a nasty smirk appears. This is Kazuya Kyuzuno, also 15 years old. Kazuya slings an arm around Noboru, taunting him. Still picking up trash today? Noboru resignedly asks what he wants. Kazuya continues to mock him with a sinister grin. It must be hard for an elite with a unique skill to pick up trash in a place like this every day, huh? Kazuya loudly explains Noboru's weakness to his friends. Noboru's unique skill never rises above level 1, making it a level 0. That's even weaker than a real level 1 skill. Kyuzuno declares it the weakest unique skill in history. He gets right in Noboru's face, who stands frozen in humiliation, and mockingly asks, "Hey Noboru, how many skills do you have now?" Cornered by the relentless taunts, Noboru quietly admits that since his skill awakening, he's learned about 10 skills a day, amounting to a staggering total of around 9,000. Kyuzuno's eyes widen in feigned disbelief before he bursts into derisive laughter. 9,000? He exclaims, pointing out that even top-tier explorers only have about 5. To him, this absurdly high number is just further proof of how utterly useless Noboru's unique skill is. Kyuzuno continues to jeer, sarcastically asking, "So, for someone with that many skills, just how strong are you, Noboru-kun?" Noboru grits his teeth, unable to respond. As Kyuzuno and his friends walk away, he laughs, sneering, "Ha, that's what you get for being cocky, serves you right." Left alone, Noboru clenches his fist in frustration but quickly tries to shake it off. "Who cares about a guy like that?" he tells himself. "More importantly, I need to find the next enemy." He admits to himself that he's weak, struggling against monsters even a newly awakened child could defeat. But as he walks deeper into the dungeon, he reaffirms his resolve. "But I won't give up because..." His father's words echo in his mind. "If you're a man, aim for the Teppen." Filled with renewed determination, he thrusts his fist forward, vowing, "I will definitely become a brave, the pinnacle of explorers." Just then, a simple slime monster appears. Seeing it as another small step forward, Noboru grins, "Oh, just at the right time." A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, he thinks, preparing for battle. To reach the Teppen, I have to work hard bit by bit. He gets ready to attack but stops in his tracks. It increased. The single slime has suddenly multiplied into a small swarm. He panics and screams as the group of slimes immediately swarms and overwhelms him. Despite being pummeled, he shouts, "I won't lose, damn it." A notification appears on his screen. He has acquired the swordsmanship skill at level 1. As he continues to struggle, his unique ability keeps triggering, acquiring another swordsmanship skill and the impact resistance skill, both at level 1. Finally, the battle is over. Noboru sits exhausted amidst the defeated slimes. "I barely won," he pants. "I'm still a long way from the Teppen." Even after the fight, new notifications pop up, showing he's acquired endurance boost and another impact resistance, all at the frustratingly low level 1. He looks at his hands in despair. "After all this hard work, I can still only acquire level 1 skills. For a unique skill, shouldn't it be a bit stronger?" He spots the magic stone left behind by the slimes and sighs. "Oh, I have to pick this up too." As he carefully reaches for the magic stone, the seemingly solid ground beneath him suddenly cracks and gives way. Noboru lets out a terrified scream as he plummets into the darkness. A pitfall trap, something that should never appear on the first floor of a dungeon. He lands hard at the bottom of the pit. As he tries to understand what just happened, a scream pierces the darkness. The desperate scream echoes through the cave, sending a chill down his spine. "Hurry," someone yells. Noboru doesn't hesitate. Though he knows he's weak, he thinks, "I can't just abandon them," and sprints towards the sound. He bursts into the open, and his face is frozen in absolute horror by the scene unfolding before him. A menacing growl echoes through the cavern. Before him stands a monstrous killer bear, a terrifying beast from the 10th floor, its eyes glowing with malice. On the ground lies an injured explorer, a young woman with light green hair named Shizuka Suzayatani. She looks up in terror and disbelief, exclaiming, "Don't tell me this is the 10th floor." Her boot trembles as the horrifying reality sinks in. She, along with the unsuspecting Noboru, has been trapped on a floor far beyond their capabilities. Noboru rushes to her side, asking, "Are you all right?" Trying to lighten the mood despite her injury, Shizuka replies with a weak laugh, "Ahaha, I might not be very okay." She explains that an ant-like monster she had never seen before suddenly appeared. She managed to defeat it, but it got her with a surprise attack, injuring her leg. Just after she was injured, the killer bear showed up. She asks Noboru if he has any recovery potions, promising to pay him. He apologetically explains that he only operates on the first floor and doesn't carry such items. Shizuka is shocked. Why is a kid like that in a place like this?" Realizing the immediate danger, she urgently tells him, "Wait, you should run, now isn't the time for this." She tries to push him to safety, insisting she'll handle it and that she can't involve him. But Noboru stands firm, shouting back, "I can't do that." He stands resolutely in front of her, refusing to abandon her despite the overwhelming threat. Noboru knows the reality of his situation. He thinks to himself, "It's true that even if I fight a monster from the 10th floor, I'll just be killed instantly." Seeing his determination, Shizuka says she'll fight too, even if she can't help much. "Are you sure?" she asks, her voice filled with concern. "You don't have to die with me, you know." With a surprisingly calm smile, Noboru replies, "It's fine." He explains that he was just on the first floor until a moment ago when he fell into a pitfall and ended up here. He reasons that even if he abandoned her, he wouldn't be able to get back to the first floor alone anyway. Shizuka is utterly baffled, exclaiming, "A pitfall on the first floor? Can something like that even happen?" Accepting the bizarre situation, Shizuka draws her dagger. "Well, fine. If we get through this, I'll properly escort you to the exit." With a determined smile despite her injuries, she introduces herself. "I'm Shizuka Suzayatani. You can just call me Shizuka. I look forward to working with you." She then asks, "And you?" Beaming with a newfound sense of partnership and courage, he replies, "I'm Noboru Takegami." "Noboru-kun, right? Then let's go," Shizuka says, ready for battle. Standing side by side, swords drawn, they prepare to face the killer bear together. "Yes," Noboru replies, his voice filled with resolve. Continuing from the last chapter, after falling deep into the dungeon, Noboru Takegami and Shizuka Suzayatani get ready to press forward. With a determined look, Noboru announces he's coming for the boss. But just as they are about to move, Noboru suddenly remembers something important. He stops his companion, asking for a moment of her time. Noboru then activates a skill. A soft green light emanates from his hand as he casts a healing spell, likely to treat the wounds Shizuka sustained earlier. Shizuka looks on in complete shock. She had no idea Noboru was capable of using recovery magic. When she asks how he can use magic, Noboru sheepishly admits that its effectiveness is only a tenth of a proper spell, so it's more for providing peace of mind than actual healing. This is due to his unique skill collection. It allows him to copy his party members' abilities, but they are all stuck at a measly level 1, rendering them almost useless. He demonstrated its weakness. The feeble healing magic was only enough to treat a tiny scratch on her. As he looks at the faint wound, he confirms that its effect is so minor that it's really just for their peace of mind. However, Shizuka disagrees. With a gentle smile, she tells him that even though it's a small effect, it definitely makes her feel better. Her kind words and gratitude bring a wide, blushing smile to Noboru's face. He's clearly happy to have been of some help, but their moment of peace is shattered by the ferocious roar of a monster. A fierce, purple-furred beast appears before them. Noboru grimaces, realizing their break is officially over. Without warning, the purple monster lunges forward, charging at them with terrifying speed. Noboru and Shizuka don't hesitate for a second. They draw their weapons and rush forward to engage the beast. The battle begins. Shizuka skillfully dodges and weaves, using her agility to land blows on the creature. But the monster is powerful and relentless in its assault. The monster's raw power is overwhelming. It lands a devastating blow, smashing Shizuka aside. Noboru can only scream her name in horror. Seeing his partner fall, Noboru desperately calls for power. A flash of light emanates from him, as his unique skill likely copies a new ability in this dire situation. The sudden flash momentarily stuns the beast, giving Noboru a precious opening. Fueled by a surge of rage, Noboru grips his sword tightly, his face contorted in a mask of pure fury as he prepares to attack. He charged in and landed a direct hit, driving his sword against the monster's flank. But nothing happened. His attack couldn't even pierce the beast's tough hide, but his attack only serves to enrage the beast further. It viciously swats Noboru away, sending him flying across the cavern. Though injured, Noboru looks up to see Shizuka making a last-ditch effort. She leaps high into the air, her body crackling with energy, preparing a powerful finishing blow. With all her remaining strength, Shizuka brings her blade down in a devastating arc, striking the monster directly on its head. Their combined assault was successful. The purple bear monster falls, seemingly defeated. A relieved Shizuka turns to Noboru for a celebratory high-five, believing they've won. But the celebration is cut short. As their hands are about to meet, Noboru flinches in pain from his injuries. Shizuka's triumphant expression immediately shifts to concern as she asks if he is all right. Noboru confirms they managed to survive, but the relief is short-lived. His bruised face and Shizuka's worried expression show that the fight took a heavy toll. Their celebration was premature. The monster they thought they defeated rises again, now glowing with a furious aura. It's gotten serious. Shizuka and Noboru realize they've only made it angry. But there's no time for fear. Shizuka rallies them, shouting that they planned on taking it down anyway. With renewed determination, they both prepare to re-engage the enraged beast. The monster was too fast, too powerful. It swatted Noboru out of the air with a brutal blow, sending him crashing to the ground. Shizuka screamed his name in panic. It didn't stop there. After taking down Noboru, it immediately turned its claws to attack Shizuka. As the monster continues its brutal assault on him, the system ironically awards him new skills. Level 1 bleed resistance as blood pours from his wounds, and level 1 pain resistance while he's in agony. Enraged and helpless, Noboru attacks the monster himself. But his strikes are pitifully weak, barely scratching the beast's tough hide. He asked himself, is this really where it all ends? The pain and helplessness trigger a traumatic flashback. He remembers being mocked by a bully, Kuzuno, for having a collection of useless, trash skills. The memory sends him spiraling into despair, believing it's all over. Just as he is about to give up, he hears Shizuka's weak voice, urging him to run and save himself. His eyes squeezed shut in pain and helplessness. As absolute despair consumed his entire mind, he whispered to himself, "So this is the end." Suddenly, the image of his father flashed within his subconscious. It was the figure he always aspired to become, the true hero of his life. He refuses to let her sacrifice be in vain. A fire ignites in his eyes. He won't run. He recalled his father's words. As long as you keep moving forward, even at a walking pace, one day you will reach the summit of the mountain. He realized he could not give up. Noboru told himself, no matter how small the step, I won't give up. 2 notifications popped up in succession. Acquired skill Indomitable level 1 and impact resistance level 1. He continues to gain skills reflecting his inner state. Acquiring fist strike as he decides to fight on until the very last moment. With the beast charging at him for the final blow, Noboru grits his teeth, his body screaming in protest, but his spirit roars back. He will absolutely never give up. A close-up on his blood-soaked face shows nothing but pure, unyielding determination. The monster connects its attack, launching Noboru high into the air, his body ragdolling towards the ceiling of the massive cavern. As he hurtles through the air, spitting blood, his body is broken, but his will remains intact. His eyes are fixed, not in defeat, but in defiance. In this near-death state, his hand reaches out as if grasping for his goal. His journey to acquire skills to climb his own mountain is about to reach a critical point, all the way to the top. And then a notification appears. His relentless struggle, his collection of thousands of seemingly worthless skills, has paid off. He has reached the milestone of 10,000 skills, triggering the acquisition of a super high-level skill. Suddenly, Noboru's body stops falling and hangs suspended in midair, bathed in a mysterious blue light. Below, Shizuka looks up in confusion, wondering what is happening. He is no longer in the cavern. He floats in a void, surrounded by countless rings of glowing runes and magical energy. His consciousness has entered a different plane. His eyes are blank and white, his mind completely submerged in the system's process. He has become a vessel for immense power. A system window materializes before him, prompting him to make a selection. This isn't just another level 1 skill. This is a choice that will define his future, a power capable of looking down upon the mountain peaks. The system presents him with a monumental choice. He can select infinite ambition that covers the world, or a body perfectly formed and supreme. As he reaches toward the screen, he is about to make a decision that will define his entire existence. His choice is made. A brilliant, golden aura erupts around him as the system announces the activation. Back in the real world, His entire body was enveloped in a blinding golden light. Filled with euphoria, he raised his fist and declared, "Witness this unrivaled and ultimate power." Noboru plummets towards the monster, his fist cocked back and glowing with immense power. This is the moment, the culmination of all his suffering. By consuming all 10,000 of his hard-earned skills, he unlocks the super high-level skill, Mountain Toppling Might. A crazed, ecstatic grin spreads across his face. This overwhelming sensation, this is the power he's been striving for, the power of the very top. The system explains the skill's mechanics. Mountain Toppling Might is a physical enhancement ability that activates by consuming his level 1 skills. The current enhancement rate is an unbelievable 100,000%. His fist connects. The impact is absolute, a blinding flash of light that signals the complete annihilation of his target. The force of the single punch is cataclysmic. It doesn't just obliterate the monster. It tears through the very foundation of the dungeon, shattering the stone floor into pieces. But the floor gives way completely. The aftermath of his punch has created a massive chasm, and both Noboru and Shizuka plummet into the darkness below. Noboru lands softly amidst the destruction, steam rolling off his body as the immense power begins to subside. The adrenaline wears off, and the cost of the power becomes clear. Noboru stumbles, letting out a weak laugh of victory before collapsing. Shizuka, having regained consciousness, rushes to his side, screaming his name. Shizuka awakens at the bottom of the newly formed crater. Her first instinct is to check on Noboru. She places a hand under his nose, sighing in relief. Thank goodness he's still breathing. But her relief quickly turns to sheer disbelief as she surveys the damage. She looks up at the massive hole he created, murmuring that destroying a dungeon floor is an impossible feat, even for the world's strongest hero-grade seekers. Cradling the unconscious Noboru, her perception of the weak, kind boy she knew is completely shattered. To think he was hiding a skill like this. With a mix of awe and fear, she asks the question that will change everything. "Hey, Noboru, just who exactly are you?" A crowd of anxious hunters gathers outside the J045 dungeon, unsettled by a powerful tremor that just rocked the subdimensional space. The air is thick with confusion and fear. An official attempts to control the situation, shouting to the panicked crowd. He announces that the shaking has stopped, but urges everyone to evacuate calmly as a precaution. His face etched with disbelief, he wondered what on earth could cause the dungeon to shake so violently. An unprecedented event. Nearby, a female official broke out in a cold sweat, voicing her fear that a powerful monster must be going on a rampage inside to cause such a disturbance. Two other hunters overhear the speculation. One of them smirks, remarking that he's never heard of such a thing before, just as a figure begins to emerge from the dungeon's dark entrance. From the icy maw of the dungeon, the figure comes into focus. It's a young woman struggling to carry an injured person on her back. It's Shizuka carrying the badly injured Noboru. His arm is bleeding profusely. She looks utterly exhausted, thinking she had finally reached the exit, but her expression is grim. Looking up at the sky, her face is filled not with relief, but with confusion and despair as she wonders, what is the meaning of this? The scene shifts. In a dark, quiet room, Noboru's eyes slowly open as he lets out a faint groan. Suddenly, he jolts awake, looking around in a panic. "Hey, where am I?" he shouts, finding himself in an unfamiliar hospital bed. Shizuka is sitting calmly by his bedside. She greets him, asking how he feels and assuring him that a potion should have healed his wounds. Noboru can only stare in shock, calling out her name. With a gentle smile, she asks if he doesn't remember. She begins to recount the events, explaining that he suddenly started glowing and used an incredible skill to defeat the killer bear. Noboru, now kneeling on the bed, is utterly baffled by her story. The only response he can manage is a bewildered what. He stares at his own hand, filled with doubt. "I have that kind of power." He feels like he did something back then, but the memory is just out of reach. Shizuka can't help but chuckle, seeing that he truly doesn't remember anything. Noboru, looking flustered and embarrassed, can only apologize. She quickly tells him not to apologize, insisting that she's the one who should be thanking him. After all, he saved her life. She then gently probes, asking how much he can recall. Noboru tries his best to remember, explaining that he recalls Shizuka blinding one of the killer bear's eyes. This sent the monster into a rage, and in the chaos, his arm was injured. Shizuka smiles and gently stops him, saying, "That's enough." She takes his hand, her expression turning serious as she tells him to listen carefully. She holds his hands tightly, her eyes closed as she speaks. She confirms that his incredible power saved them, and that if not for him, they both would have died. But she clarifies, the person who saved her was the Noboru who had no idea what was about to happen. Noboru looks down, dejected. He dismisses her words, saying it was a pointless, suicidal mission. A disembodied voice agrees, saying maybe so. But Shizuka's voice is firm. She tells him that what truly mattered wasn't some crazy skill. It's the fact that even though he was weak, he didn't abandon her and fought until the very end. That is why she was saved. She suddenly breaks the serious mood, becoming comically animated. Of course, saving me with an amazing skill is also incredible. Noboru, taken aback, tries to interject that wasn't what he meant, changing the subject with an anyway. Shizuka gently pulls Noboru into a hug. A reflection of her grateful face appears in his eye as she thanks him, calling him her savior. As she holds him close, she says with conviction, "And without a doubt, you are my hero." Noboru's eyes widen, a faint blush creeping onto his cheeks, completely overwhelmed by her earnest declaration. He relaxes into the warmth of the embrace, a rare, contented smile forming as he processes her words. For a brief moment, all his self-doubt melts away, and he is completely lost in her validation. Shizuka pulls away from the hug, a little flustered. She announces that since Noboru seems fine now, she should be heading home and says her goodbyes. As she leaves, Noboru is left stunned, realizing with a jolt that he was so caught up in the moment he didn't even get her contact information. He lies back on the hospital bed with a sigh, reaching a hand toward the ceiling as he processes everything that just happened. He clenches his fist, his mind replaying Shizuka's powerful words, "You are my hero." The declaration moved him so much that he completely forgot about the mysterious, amazing skill he supposedly used. A surge of newfound determination fills him. He pumps his fist with a bright, energized smile, feeling a resolve he hasn't felt before. He thinks of his father, Noboru Takegami, a legendary explorer seen here in a memory with a wide, encouraging smile and a thumbs up. Noboru looks up, wondering if he has finally gotten a little closer to being like the man he admires. Shizuka's words and the memory of her hug continue to echo warmly inside him, reinforcing his newfound sense of worth. Meanwhile, in the hospital corridor, a menacing figure in a black suit, Kuzuno, leans against the wall, waiting patiently right outside Noboru's room. Exhaustion must have taken over as he fell asleep right after. By the time he woke up, it was already dead of night. Now he is sprinting frantically through the park. A wave of panic hits him. He knows his mom must be worried and feels a desperate need to get home fast. He recalls that not long before he turned 13, his father suddenly vanished. Because of his father's disappearance, his mother worries about him constantly. He pulls his phone out of his pocket, his heart sinking. He is horrified to see a massive list of missed calls from his mom, realizing he should have called her first. The sheer number of calls sends him into a Chibe-style panic. While he's grateful for his mother's concern, he wishes she wouldn't worry so much. But his thoughts are cut short by a harsh voice shouting his name. "Hey, Noboru." Noboru stops dead in his tracks, turning to see the intimidating figure of Kuzuno striding purposefully toward him through the park. Annoyed and on edge, Noboru recognizes his tormentor. "Kuzuno?" he asks, bracing himself for a confrontation. He tries to brush him off, stating that he's in a hurry. But Kuzuno, looming over him, clearly has other plans. Without any warning, Kuzuno delivers a swift, brutal punch directly to Noboru's face, the impact echoing in the quiet night. The force of the blow sends Noboru staggering to the ground. He cries out in pain, completely caught off guard by the sudden assault. Struggling to push himself up, Noboru glares back at his attacker, demanding, "Hey, what do you think you're doing all of a sudden?" Kuzuno violently grabs Noboru by his hoodie, his face contorted with contempt. He snarls that Noboru seems to be having delusions again, and he's here to set him straight. Noboru, completely lost, asks what delusions he is even talking about. His question is answered with another vicious punch to the face. Kuzuno finally reveals the source of his rage, roaring, "Don't play dumb with me. Why the hell are you hanging out with Shizuka Suzayatani?" Noboru is shocked, wondering how Kuzuno even knows about Shizuka. Kuzuno scoffs, yelling that everyone has heard of the famous Suzayatani sisters from the all-female priestess clan. The word catches Noboru completely by surprise. His mind reels as he repeats it with shock. Priestess, as in *1. An information panel provides context, explaining that the priestess is a rare and powerful clan composed entirely of women, set against a map of Japan, with a mysterious, shadowed woman at the forefront. The narration continues to explain that the priestess clan and the skills of its members are considered among the best in all of Japan. highlighting a formidable-looking woman with long dark hair and sharp eyes. The clan leader, Nodoka Suzayatani, is especially famous. In addition to her incredible strength, her charm is so popular that she's a celebrity who has even released a photo book despite being a civilian. Noboru is still trying to process this new information, muttering the name, the Suzayatani sisters, to himself as question marks float around his head. The realization finally hits him like a ton of bricks. He lets out a comically distorted shout. Was Shizuka actually Nodoka Suzayatani's younger sister? As he imagines the two of them together. Kyuzuno confirms it with a sneer. Yeah, that's right. So why is a failure of a scrap picker like you acting all friendly with the sister of someone that famous? He demands, his words dripping with contempt. Kyuzuno continues his tirade, his face twisted in a vicious snarl. It's ridiculous. You've rotted away at rock bottom, so why the hell are you trying to crawl back up? Oh, that's right. I need to make you remember your place. Get ready. Kyuzuno shouts, his face a mask of fury as he summons a glowing, segmented pink whip into his hand. Noboru panics, shouting that using a weapon is illegal. But Kyuzuno just scoffs, asking who is around to see. He remarks that it doesn't matter as long as he isn't caught, as his whip extends with a sinister, fluid motion. The whip lashes out, striking Noboru brutally across the face. The impact is so strong it draws blood, and his eyes widen in pain and shock. Kyuzuno shows no mercy, continuing his assault with the glowing whip. He swings it again and again as Noboru tries desperately to dodge in the deserted park. Trapped and overpowered, Noboru's only thought is to call for help at the top of his lungs. But before he can even get a word out, the whip strikes him directly in the throat. As he chokes, a system window appears before him, announcing, Acquired Skill Impact Resistance, LV1. He clutches his throat, realizing he can't get his voice out. Kyuzuno taunts him, asking how he likes the taste of his level 2 whip technique, Silent Whip, a skill that prevents its target from making a sound. With Noboru silenced and helpless, Kyuzuno looms over him with a confident smirk. I told you, didn't I? It doesn't matter if I don't get caught. Kyuzuno descends into a fit of maniacal laughter, relishing the fact that he can now beat Noboru to his heart's content. He continues to lash out, screaming that this is where Noboru belongs, and that he shouldn't get cocky as multiple skill acquisition windows pop up around the defenseless Noboru. As the brutal assault continues, Noboru desperately wonders if there's a way to fight back. In that moment of desperation, a new system window appears. Mountain Toppling Might, a super high-level skill that enhances physical ability by consuming other skills. The cost of activation is immense. Almost all of his skills are gone. He understands that a normal person could never use such an ability, as it would mean living the rest of their life without skills. But for him, it's a different story. A spark of revelation ignites in his eyes. With his unique ability, skill collection, he can acquire as many disposable LV1 skills as he wants and use them over and over again as fuel. He realizes the incredible potential of his one-scursed abilities. This is the ultimate synergy. A powerful golden aura, crackling with purple lightning, begins to erupt from his body. A system message declares that 10,000 skills have been consumed to activate Mountain Toppling Might. A massive explosion of power blasts outwards from Noboru, sending a shockwave that stuns Kyuzuno, who can only ask what this monstrous power is. Emerging from the light, Noboru stands tall, a confident and dangerous grin on his face. He looks at his fist, now brimming with immense power, and says to himself, Now then, let's see how much I've been enhanced. Following his awakening, Noboru unleashes the full force of his new skill. An immense shockwave of power erupts from his body, sending his opponent, Kazuya Kyuzuno, flying backward. Noboru clenches his fist, a golden aura glowing around it. He feels an incredible amount of power surging through him for the first time, a confident smirk on his face. A system window appears, detailing the source of his newfound strength. Consumption-based physical enhancement, with the current rate at a staggering 80%. Seeing this, Kyuzuno charged forward and shouted, Your skills are useless, they're just cheap parlor tricks. His attack was imbued with a menacing reddish-purple aura. Noboru easily deflects Kyuzuno's whip attack, telling his shocked bully that his old tricks won't work on him anymore. Declaring that it's his turn, Noboru's eyes glow red with determination as he reels back his fist for a powerful counterattack. The punch connects squarely with Kyuzuno's face, the impact sending a shockwave through the air. Kyuzuno is sent flying from the force of the blow, completely stunned that he was taken down with just a single hit. Even Noboru seems surprised by the outcome. He looks down at his hand, then at the unconscious body of Kyuzuno, who was knocked out cold from that one punch. A wide grin spreads across Noboru's face as he marvels at his new super high-level skill. The feeling of power is intoxicating. As he walks away, Noboru tells the defeated Kuzuno that with this new power, he no longer has to be afraid and that he will surpass everyone to reach the very top. The scene transitions to the following day, showing the city in the morning light. As Noboru walks through a crowd, he hears a familiar voice calling his name. It's his friend, Shizuka. She greets him cheerfully, but then questions why he's already heading into a dungeon after the difficult events of the previous day. Noboru looks away sheepishly, scratching his cheek as he explains that he would have liked to rest, but he still has this month's quota to fill. In this world, dungeons are a constant threat. In the beginning, even the military mobilized their forces to combat the monsters emerging from them. However, conventional weaponry proved ineffective, leading to a crushing defeat for the military and giving rise to the era of hunters. Hunters are now the world's defense. As if dungeons are left alone, the monsters inside will eventually spill out and wreak havoc. Because of this threat, any citizen who awakens a combat-type skill by the age of 12 is obligated to begin fighting monsters in dungeons starting from age 15. Shizuka remembers the quota system, confirming that it's 100 lowest-grade mana stones a month. Noboru laughs awkwardly, admitting that because he's weak, it's tough for him to collect them without plenty of time. Shizuka offers to help him out. She's also curious and wants to see the super high-level skill he got yesterday in action. She figures if she helps, she can see if he can actually use it in a fight. Noboru happily agrees to her offer. With the decision made, the two of them resolve to clear the dungeon together. Inside a dark dungeon, Shizuka asks Noboru if he's working so hard because he wants to be like his father one day. He confirms that he is, though he feels he isn't much right now. Shizuka playfully pats his head, telling him not to be so down on himself. To cheer him up, she shares a secret. Her own older sister is so amazing that everyone else seems ordinary in comparison. She then reveals her sister is the famous priestess, Nodoka Suzayatani. The revelation hits Noboru like a ton of bricks. He stares at her, utterly shocked, stammering that he had no idea she was related to someone so famous. Shizuka just offers a small, knowing smile in return. Noboru is still hiding behind the rock, shocked by the news. Shizuka turns to him with a gentle, knowing smile. She looks at him and explains that she is also working hard because she wants to be like her accomplished older sister one day. In that sense, she says, the two of them are the same, both striving to live up to a legacy. Feeling a sense of camaraderie, Shizuka playfully suggests they have a friendly race to see who can reach their goal first. Noboru enthusiastically agrees, before realizing that given their current power levels, he's at a massive disadvantage. Shizuka teases him, asking how he can say that when he possesses such an incredible skill. Her words light a fire in Noboru's eyes, and he accepts her challenge, vowing that he won't lose. A close-up of Shizuka's face shows her gentle smile, pleased that her encouragement has motivated her friend. Inspired by their new rivalry, Noboru pumps his fist, filled with determination. He declares that he'll do his best to keep up with her. With their friendly competition set, Noboru decides it's time to test his skill for real. He finds a suitable spot in the cavern and asks Shizuka to step back. Ready to show off his power, Noboru prepares to activate his ability, announcing that he will now consume a skill. He strikes a pose and attempts to activate Mountain Toppling Might, but nothing happens. Shizuka watches from a safe distance, wondering what's going on. Noboru, panting with frustration, realizes the problem. Just as he thought, the skill is impossible to activate if he doesn't have a single skill available to consume. He needs to acquire a skill first. Looking around, he wonders where he can find a monster. Shizuka helpfully points out a slime lurking in the corner. Noboru spots the slimes and tells Shizuka he'll be right back. As he runs off to fight them, she watches and wishes him good luck. After taking care of the weak monsters, a flurry of system windows confirms that Noboru has successfully acquired the skill, Sword Technique. Level 1, multiple times. Noboru comes back, wiping sweat from his brow. He breathes a sigh of relief, remarking that he won and that it wasn't a tough fight, even without his ultimate skill. Shizuka congratulates him on a job well done, but she has a strange, amused look on her face that Noboru doesn't quite understand. She bursts out laughing, explaining that it's just that he seemed to struggle so much against a simple slime, which confirms that he really is weak. She had this strong image of him from his amazing skill, so the contrast was funny. Noboru blushes in embarrassment, admitting that this is his actual skill level. But Noboru's embarrassment quickly turns into determination. He declares that it won't be like this forever. Now that he has acquired new skills to burn, he can finally use his true power. He activates mountain toppling might once more. A powerful golden aura erupts around him, and Shizuka can only stare in awe at the incredible power emanating from him. Noboru looks at his hands, feeling the power course through him. However, he immediately notices something is off. The power feels weaker than it did yesterday. A system window for mountain toppling might appears. It describes the skill's ability to provide physical enhancement proportional to the skills consumed. He looks down and sees the current enhancement rate is only 20%. He shouts in disbelief, 20%? Wasn't it 80% yesterday? He finally puts two and two together, realizing that the amplification rate must be based on the number of skills consumed. He then comically scolds himself. It's not a guess. The skill description literally says the enhancement is proportional to consumption. He bonks his head, calling himself an idiot for not reading it carefully. As Noboru works through the mechanics of his own skill, Shizuka watches him with a thoughtful expression, taking in this new side of him. Now understanding the basics, Noboru decides he needs to look into his new power more thoroughly. He resolves to investigate the relationship between the number of skills consumed and the enhancement rate he receives. Through his investigation, he discovers two key things about the skill. First, once activated, the power boost seems to last for about a minute. And second, as he demonstrates by taking down another slime, there's no interval or cooldown for reuse. He continues to test his skill on a goblin. He discovers that since activating the skill overwrites the enhancement rather than stacking it, timing is crucial. He realizes it's most effective to reactivate the skill just before the buff runs out. He also makes another key discovery. While he can't choose the type of skill to consume, he can decide on the number. This control is a huge advantage. It means he can stock up on low-level skills for emergencies and adjust his power output as needed, rather than being forced to consume everything at once. With his new understanding and power, clearing the dungeon becomes trivial. Noboru proudly holds up a pouch filled with mana stones, announcing that his quota is complete, and nodding how much easier it is with a proper combat skill. With their objective met, Noboru sincerely thanks Shizuka for helping him. She brushes it off, saying it was nothing, and suggests they head back. Noboru cheers, excited about their success and his newfound power. On their way out, Shizuka admits his help was crucial, especially against a dangerous killer mantis they encountered. She compliments him on taking it out so coolly, but Noboru deflects, saying he only managed it because she acted as the vanguard. Shizuka graciously accepts the credit, but then adds with confidence that she has a feeling he will become much stronger than her very soon. Her words make Noboru pause and reflect. Stronger, huh? He repeats to himself, lost in thought. He turns to her and begins to open up, confessing that ever since he was a child, his dream has been to become a hero. He clarifies that hero is the ultimate title, not just for being strong, but given only to seekers who have made massive, world-changing contributions. In a brief flashback, he remembers looking up to his father. He feels that only by reaching that height, by becoming a hero, could he ever feel like he's caught up to his father's legacy. He admits that until now, it was nothing more than a dream, but with his new super high-level skill, it feels attainable. He turns to Shizuka, finally ready to share his ultimate goal with her. Shizuka is a bit taken aback by his sudden seriousness and asks for clarification. A hero? You mean a hero-class seeker? Noboru slumps down, explaining that the title is nearly impossible to get unless a major incident occurs. He then asks her, with a hint of sadness, if she's going to laugh at him. Shizuka is genuinely confused and asks why she would laugh. Noboru tells her that everyone else he's told has laughed at him. At this, Shizuka gets comically angry, grabbing him and asking if he really thought she would be so cruel. Noboru is visibly moved, his voice trembling as he explains that besides his mom and dad, no one has ever taken his dream seriously or believed it was realistic. Shizuka's expression softens, and then she breaks into a wide, supportive grin. She proudly declares that she'll be the first person besides his parents to believe in him, and vows to brag about it when he finally becomes a hero-class seeker. Filled with newfound motivation from her unwavering support, Noboru stands tall. Shizuka cheers him on, calling him Mr. Future Hero, and he responds with a determined, yes. The scene ominously cuts to a darker part of the dungeon, where a severed insect leg and a trail of blood lie on the ground, hinting at a powerful and dangerous presence. Continuing his dungeon exploration, Noboru Takegami leaps from a cliff, his eyes blazing with determination as he prepares to face the beast below. With his katana ready, he shouts, "Let's do this." But the killer bear is a formidable foe. It viciously swipes at Noboru, its monstrous roar echoing through the cavern as it lands a powerful blow, sending him reeling. However, Noboru recovers instantly, a confident smirk on his face. He knows this encounter is a rematch, and this time he's come prepared. As he dashes forward, he thinks to himself, things are different this time. Noboru consumes 3 of his skills to activate his ultimate ability, Mountain Toppling Might. As he unleashes a devastating slash, he wonders if the beast has any hope of blocking the attack. The immense pressure of the bear's resistance allows Noboru's unique trait to activate. As he grits his teeth and pushes through, a system window appears, notifying him that he has learned a new skill, increased durability. And that's not all. A surge of power flows through him as he realizes the core of his ability. The stronger his opponent is, the faster his own skills grow. As the battle rages, he continues to evolve, quickly learning another new skill, Bleed Resistance, further strengthening his defenses against the monster's attacks. With yet another skill, Indomitable, learned, Noboru decides to end it. He consumes 10 of his hard-earned skills to once again activate Mountain Toppling Might. This time, the boost is at 100%. His eyes glowed, reflecting the image of the killer bear freezing in terror as it witnessed the overwhelming power gathering at Noboru's blade. A brilliant flash of blue light engulfs the cavern as Noboru unleashes the fully powered strike, a torrent of energy far surpassing his previous attack. With fierce, determined eyes, Noboru focuses all his energy into this final, decisive blow. The attack cleaves straight through the monster. The killer bear is instantly defeated, and Noboru falls to one knee, panting from the exertion of the powerful technique. Victory, he leaps into the air, shouting in triumph. He finally took down a killer bear all by himself. The monster's body dissolves into valuable mana stones. With his fists clenched in excitement, he celebrates the milestone. This victory proves he's finally become a full-fledged seeker. But his celebration is short-lived. As he inspects a mana stone, he reflects on the cost of the battle. Or so I'd like to say, but my efficiency is still pretty crap. He visualizes his power mechanic. The stronger the opponent, the more his power grows, but his mastery over the skills decreases, making it a tricky balance. He scratches his head, doing the math. He endured the fight and gained 8 skills, but used 10 for the finishing blow. In the end, he's at a net loss of skills, proving his method is still unsustainable. Noboru contemplates his future strategy, wondering if a smaller boost would be more efficient, or if he needs to find a way to endure longer. There's still a lot of testing to do. Just then, his companion, a woman with light green hair named Shizuka, appears. She calls out to Noboru, and he happily reports his success. She congratulates him on his solo victory. Shizuka playfully pinches his cheeks, teasing him for catching up to her strength so quickly. She laments that she won't be able to play the big sister role for much longer. She continues to poke fun at him, asking why he isn't telling her she's still a wonderful older woman to him, much to Noboru's flustered embarrassment. Noboru can only think about how casually she slipped the word wonderful in there. Shizuka ends the playful argument by declaring she'll forgive him if he buys her a convenience store pudding. Suddenly, a loud rumbling sound echoes through the cave, and the ground beneath them begins to shake violently. The floor gives way. As rocks crumble around them, Noboru is knocked off his feet. Both he and a shocked Shizuka cry out in alarm as they begin to fall. Amidst the crumbling chaos, Noboru glanced over to find Shizuka reaching out her hand to catch him. In a flash, Shizuka reached out and grabbed his hand, trying to pull him to safety, but the ground crumbled too fast. Together, they plummeted into the darkness. They plummet into a seemingly endless abyss, a starry void that offers no hint of a bottom. The world disappears above them as they fall deeper and deeper into the unknown. The long fall continues into utter blackness, a terrifying descent with no end in sight. With a heavy thud, they finally crash onto a hard, stone floor. Shizuka, dazed, jokingly complains that she tried to save Noboru but ended up falling with him. Noboru retorts, asking if she really expected him to check the floor for traps. Shizuka sits up, puzzled. She's never heard of a pitfall trap suddenly appearing like that, but Noboru shocks her by revealing the truth. The exact same thing happened to him before when he fell from the first floor. Shizuka is left speechless. Before they can process this strange coincidence, a chilling scream echoes from the darkness ahead. Noboru immediately turns to Shizuka, proposing they investigate the source of the sound. A menacing sound echoes through the darkness. Noboru and Shizuka find themselves in a dark, unfamiliar place. Annoyed, Noboru complains, Even though I went through the trouble of losing you, you followed me down here too. He then looks around, asking, more importantly, where are we? Noboru recalls the strange phenomenon where the ground suddenly gives way beneath his feet. He remembers it's the same thing that happened recently when he saved Shizuka, causing them to fall from the 35th floor. A green-haired female adventurer from another party watches them. She had initially thought Noboru simply stepped on a trap, but now she senses something is off. Could it be? She wonders. Suddenly, the ground crumbles again. As they plummet into the abyss, Noboru hears Shizuka scream and yells, "Let's go!" From the swirling darkness below, a terrifying swarm of giant, red ant-like monsters emerges. They aren't alone in their fall. Another party of adventurers is also caught in the chaos. A blond man shouts in panic, "Shit, where are these things coming from?" While his companion with an orange bandana, clutching a grievous wound, yells, "Heal quickly." The entire group is in freefall, surrounded by the monsters. A man with tattoos is unconscious and badly injured, while a mage with pink hair looks on in horror. Amid the chaos, Shizuka frantically calls out to Noboru, who responds with a determined, "Yes." Noboru leaps into action, jumping towards the injured adventurers. He pulls out an item and yells, "Use this," as he tosses it towards them. A blue-haired healer catches the potion Noboru threw. Noboru thinks to himself that it was a good thing he bought potions earlier. The healer immediately administers it to the wounded man with tattoos, who manages a weak thanks. The healer follows up with a spell, chanting minor heal. A green aura envelops the injured adventurer, whose pain begins to subside. The healer helps the recovering man. "Thank God," she says in relief. "This kid shared a potion with you, say thanks." The tattooed adventurer turns to Noboru. "Is that so? Sorry, I'll definitely pay you back later." But Noboru dismisses the thanks, telling him to save it for later. He urgently calls out, more importantly, "Shizuka, how is it over there?" Elsewhere in the freefall, the blonde adventurer and his companion with the orange bandana are desperately fighting off the swarming ant monsters. A fierce-looking, silver-haired swordswoman cuts through the enemies, shouting to her comrades, "We're fine with just the three of us." She then warns Noboru, "Your skills consume a lot of energy, so save them for now." But the situation grows more dire. The pink-haired mage looks back with a horrified expression, shouting, "There's more there." An endless horde of the red monsters surges from the depths, their glowing eyes fixed on the falling adventurers. In response, the pink-haired mage unleashes a powerful spell, screaming, "Fire wall!" A torrent of flames erupts from his hands, engulfing the front line of the monster swarm. "The fire wall isn't enough. No good, it can't hold them back at all," the mage cries out. The other adventurers agree, yelling that they're barely holding on and can't spare anyone. Seeing the party on the verge of being overwhelmed, the green-haired woman from before gives Noboru a confident grin. "It's okay. Noboru, you can do this, right?" A determined glint appears in Noboru's eye. "Of course," he replies, confidence radiating from him. Noboru's aura explodes with power. "There's too many of them. No need to hold back," he declares. With a surge of determination, he announces the activation of his ultimate move. Consuming 10 skills, activating Mountain Toppling Might. In the next instant, a massive wave of destructive energy erupts from Noboru, poised to tear through the monster horde with unstoppable force. The brilliant blue energy of Mountain Toppling Might vaporizes the monsters in its path, cutting a clean swathe through the swarm. Noboru lands perfectly amidst the carnage, his sword still glowing. He stands in a crater of his own making, surrounded by the bisected remains of the monsters he just obliterated. In the background, Shizuka watches in stunned silence. Shizuka, her voice filled with awe and concern, asks him, "Are you okay?" Noboru looks back, completely unfazed by the massive expenditure of power. Looking at the calm and powerful Noboru, Shizuka is completely flustered. She blushes intensely and stammers, "Ah, yes," clearly mesmerized by his display of strength. With the immediate threat cleared, Noboru takes charge. He stands protectively before the rest of the adventurers, his sword held ready, and issues a firm command. "Leave this to me and get back."